So even though we have AI, business owners like myself will spend so much time researching with AI, but still getting answers that aren't particularly relevant. And that's because ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever it is that you're using, it does not know your business. It does not know your company. So I built an AI agent which has access to the internet, but also has access to all of my personal internal business data. And this way, it only gives me the results which are actually relevant to my business. What I have on the screen now is a clear example of this. Here, I've given it a simple prompt like evaluate the ROI of our recent project management tool migrations. Are they actually making our engineering teams faster? And what does the broader industry say about these tools? And I've done the same thing with ChatGPT, the same thing. And what we've done is I've given it the spreadsheet, right? So basically the same question being asked to both of them, but one of them simple prompt like that, but because it has access to tools that are pre-built and I've already given the agent the ability to use those tools, it will use them and give us a much better result. So right from the get-go, you can see this one is already calling the MCP tool to let it read the same Google Sheets files that are here, but as a private database. You can see it's calling the tools, it's reading the actual information, it's following all of the steps that it's supposed to follow. As you can see, it's calling the correct tools. And here ChatGPT is already done and it's given us our answer, which is that the mobile app team before linear, after linear, the change, the interpretation, data pipeline. So you can see it's a lot of stuff here. And it says its recommendation is do not roll out Notion as the engineering PM tool. All of this was just doing a super deep analysis. All right, so we're back, and you can see we finally have both answers. Now, this one is a very good answer. It's clearly done a huge analysis of the data. It went and did further research into the online space about all the tools. But this one actually found this and used it as a control group to prove that the stats were not skewed. We used zero manual entry, gave it a very simple prompt, and it did all of the analysis by itself. It gave us a professional artifact which it created for us over here, and we'll get to those in a minute. It also used system writeback, meaning it improved its own ability to do analysis based on the evidence it received in this analysis, and it gave us a action plan to go ahead for further, right? So it's gone ahead and given us everything that we needed from it all by itself, right? This is the difference between using an agent that's specifically built for research versus generic GPT responses, even though we give it some kind of context. So I'm going to show you how to build that right now. All right, awesome. Let's get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do is get an IDE. Now, an IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. I know it sounds high tech, but you actually don't gravity.google and install this. Or if you have the Claude desktop app and you're on the paid plan, you do have access to Claude Code over here. But if you're not on the paid plan, then you can't access that. So for the purpose of this video, I'll show you how to do it using anti-gravity, which is free. Okay, so you can do it for free. So once you download anti-gravity, it should open up a window that looks like this, which is the default window. Now here you have the chat box where you can talk to any of the agents that you want. You can pick them do first, and then you can accept or reject or make edits to the plan that it has. You can add your context, your workflows, your media over here. Any kind of files or workflows that you've already built will be able to be added from this. Okay, So when you think about building a research agent for a business, like I showed you in the demonstration, there's two main things that you want to look at. About the tools we want this agent to have, it's to be able to search the web, but also to be able to look at your internal company data. Okay, so looking at this image, before we get to the build, I want to just clear it up really quickly. When you have tools, it's called an MCP. So an MCP just stands for Model Context Protocol. And what that basically means is that we can basically write code in this environment and talk to an agent. But let's say we want this agent to search the web. It needs to have a tool to let it search the web. Or if we want it to check our Google Drive, it needs to have a tool to let it check Google Drive. That's the tools. The second thing is skills. Now, skills are how we tell the agent the procedure to do things. So instead of basically saying that when I tell you to search for something, I want you to go to Google, I want you to put that search query in the search bar, I want you to take the top 10 websites, look at them all, summarize all that information, look at any links that are in those websites to other websites. That into a skill file because it's how the agent will do the task. The skills are us instructing it on how it needs to get those things done. All right, that's just and tools. So in this case, we want it to search the web and we want it to query an internal database. So for example, this is a database, for example, my business, where we have the team name. So we have core platform, mobile app, mobile app, mobile app, the tool category, project manager, they're using Jira, some people are using Notion, the date that they rolled out. And then here we have weekly engineering metrics. So if, for example, we had 10 deployments per week and 3 bugs were reported. Whereas if you look at like down here, the same team, but with 53 PR and 6 bugs, right? So this is just an example of what your data could look like. It could look like anything. Your data could be about sales, it could be about marketing, it could be about, in this case, it's simply about operations, but it could be about any of your business data, right? So, but we want whatever we build in here to be able to come and read this. And more than that, we want it to be able to search the internet for things. So to do that, we're going to use two specific tools. We're going to use a tool AI agents to the web. Now I already have an account with Tavily, so I'm going to go ahead and just log in and I'm going to continue with Google. And when you sign up for your free account, you're gonna get, I think, like 1,000, yeah, you get 1,000 credits, and this reloads every single month, so you don't have to worry about running out of those. Okay, so internet. So for example, right now you're in anti-gravity. Let's use just Gemini to access the that it can't use Tavily specifically because we haven't given it access to Tavily. All right? Because you see, it's listing its declared tools, and it says here that if you look at its thinking, I'll explain that I don't see the Tavily MCP. MCP, as I explained, that's just saying that it doesn't have access to the model context protocol for Tavily, right? So why would you use Tavily? As it mentions here, it has two powerful tools. Search web, so it can perform broad searches, find relevant information, and get summaries with citations, and has a browser sub-agent. So it's like an autonomous browser. So our agent that we build can go and peek around and look at different sites and extract and interact with the information on that page. So we want to use tavily so it can do that. The second thing we're going to use is SQLite. SQLite is made by Anthropic, the same people who made Claude. And all it is it's a way for AI agents to write queries to a database. Okay? So you have trying to get across is that this is how it can come here. And when I told it to compare the current tools to my actual team's productivity metrics, to get the productivity metrics, it has to come here. It has to look at all of this. To do that, it's going to use SQLite. So those are the two MCPs that we have to give it. So what we're going to do is close this out and we'll start by making a new folder. So I'll open my okay, and I'm going to make a new folder in my desktop here. Okay, and it's completely empty folder. I'm going to just drop this into here. All right, very simple, very easy to do. Okay, cool. Now, what you want to do is we need to give it access to tavily and to SQLite. And the way you do that is by going into this, press these three dots and press on MCP servers. These are all the MCP servers that it has the ability to access, but you have to configure the connection. And I'm going to show you how to do that, and it's so easy, and you're not going to write any code, don't worry about it. So click on Manage MCP Servers, and you can press this to close that up. What you'll see here is you might not have anything there. I have these three which are currently running. The Canva one, and I have the Loom transcript one, which is exactly those three that I have here. But I want it to access tavily. So the way you do that is you can actually go here and tell the agent, give me the JSON code for the MCP, so drag that in there so that and we're gonna just literally copy and paste it and just press allow for this conversation so it can actually read this file. So let it find it. In the meantime, here's what you're gonna have to do. Call this research agent. Okay, yeah, that's fine. We're gonna say limit monthly usage to 1,000 because I only have 1,000 credits. Of 1,000 because we just created it right now. Now, when we go back here, you can see it's trying to figure out how to do this. So oh, you can see it says here, copy and paste this block into your look at MCP servers is here. So I'm going to just go here, put a comma and paste that in. Okay. So now as you can see, it's looking a little bit messy right now. So we'll just clean it up a little bit. This command needs to be a bit inwards. This also just needs to be a bit inwards. Same for the env. Okay. Now you see it says here your API key for tavily. So I'm going to remove that. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to press on this to copy the API key and I'm going to paste that in there. All right. Now if I press Control this, I want to see if tavily now shows up. We have tavily MCP. Now, this is a very common procedure that I think you all should know right now is simply all of those tools. So I'm gonna go ahead here and say, okay, I've added it. Um, can you check that you have tab? Okay, um, and you see this icon here? So it called tavily correctly. It ran the tool, the tavily MC 5.3 instant, reportedly, whatever. You can see it's done Google search. Now we have that. The next thing we want to do is give it access to our local data. Now I showed you guys an example of it here in the Google Sheets, but what I have is I have it locally downloaded onto my laptop already, which you should also too, because it's very, protected data that I don't really have. I don't keep it online. So I have it, for example, it's right here. It's a .database file. So MCP. So go ahead here and click on this new file and drag this in here and say, I want to add SQLite to my MCPs. What is the necessary JSON? And press enter. And just like before, as simple as it is, it will add it just as it told me. And now it says here that I have to add the absolute path to my database file. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to right click here and click on get info, which is going to pop up this little window here. I'm going to copy it as path name, and I'm just going to go remove this and paste that. And now I want to see, we should see the addition of SQLite as an additional MCP server that we have access to. Right, now I know it says we optimize agents by having them only go up to 50 tools. It has 100 to access to 100, but it's okay. And okay, here we have tavily, and I want you to remember that this is the file which must contain your actual company data. Whatever you, it only knows what's in here. Okay, very nice. Now we're like literally almost done with the setup. So let's go ahead and just tell it, can you test out the SQLite MCP? Okay, we will send that. For some information. All right, so you can see it says I have successfully used the MCP. I've checked available tables, our team infrastructure and weekly engineering metrics, and I ran a quick select, and it got these samples. So cool. We know it can access the internet now, and it can access our company data. So we to tavily, you will be my research agent. However, to help you the files. The first one is going to be research methods. The second one is going to be about how to properly piece together the data that you have. And the third one will be about business intelligence so that your insights actually align with my organizational priorities. Interview me so that to your own chat. All right, now we'll send that off. And we don't actually have to even pay attention to what's happening here. We can simply just focus on what the agent wants from us. All right, so it's created a root skill.md in the root directory, meaning that it's outside all of the other files and it is the single most important place. All right, so we'll just press accept all. Now it's asked us to answer these questions right now. So section 1, for example, what type of sources should I prioritize when using tavily? step information. Now all this, whatever. I'm going to answer this, but to save. Okay, so here are the answers that I got from Gemini. And the good thing is you only have to do this once, because the moment it creates the skill.md files, we no longer have to actually worry about this. We can always just do proper research with this agent. And while like architecture system thing, which is going to be a lot more advanced compared to this one. So I'm going to let it write this thing and do what it's doing. But I wanted just to show you guys what I mean. Like this is the plan for the next video. So I want us to go into how we can have multiple agents working together. The idea behind this one is we'd actually be able to create an entire marketing campaign by having multiple agents work together to piece it together when you receive or you create. But you don't need to hire one either. You can have multiple agents work together to achieve the same outcome. All right, so just gonna put that out there. All right, so it says here, extracting whatever this, I'm gonna just press accept, move this to the side. So you can see we have research intelligence skill.md. So you always want to think about, like, if it's a research agent, it has to have internet access and my data. It has to access my data too. Then you think about what's it going to do? Research. So how does it research? That is the research methods. Once it has the data, what should it do with it? That is the data correlation. Once it has those two, how do I make sure that it's actually useful to me? That's the business intelligence skill. All right, so now we have all this finally done. All right, I'm going to open a new chat here and I'm going to say understand the code base to make sure it reads all of the current files that are in here. Okay, can also go ahead and just close these up. It's a relevant answer. I just think is a lot cleaner, right? A lot better to understand. And so you can see here we have everything under the research agent. Okay, so just to get everybody caught up to speed, what we have built so far is a behavioral framework for an AI. It strictly guides the AI agent on how to search the web for engineering trends, compare those trends against internal database metrics, and output a highly standardized executive level business intelligence report. Okay, so I'm going to go here and I'm going to say, all right, so I'm going to send that. So now this agent is not going to go and do a general Google search and give me back some generic data. It's going to use tavily to search the internet, and it's going to use SQLite to look at what connection that has to my business and then give me the report. So I get fully filtered real results and I don't have to spend so much time trying to comb through it myself. And it's also not generic because it's not like it's checking on Google or it's like a ChatGPT chatbot. And it's not even that it has access to my like SOPs or anything like that. No, this thing has access to my actual real structured business data, doing all of the research, and it keeps also querying the database to find out what information it needs. And soon enough, it will give us a proper answer. All right, one thing I also want to note, as you can see, it's done, but I want to note that we didn't even tell it to call all of these tools, right? Because we wrote the skill files, we don't actually have to instruct it. These skill files contain all the instructions that it needs. Internal analysis. So it says using the weekly engineering metrics, right? So using this real, 3 main teams are correlated in their tool transitions with productivity metrics. So the mobile app team transition from Jira to Linear on 25th. This rollout shows the strongest correlation with improved productivity. So there's a very strong correlation between the adoption of Linear and improved engineering velocity. So if we're looking to optimize productivity across the rest of the company, we should consider standardizing on Linear for issue tracking, as the core platform's Jira metrics are lagging behind the mobile app's performance. And so if you look here at the external trends it got, so it's like not saying that you should blindly follow what the market has been doing since 2025, but you should do it because all of your data tells it that it would be a good decision for the business. Can you imagine having to give like ChatGPT a search like this without it being able to to have access to this, or to you combing through all of that to figure out what part is actually relevant to you. So I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed. We can ask it a bunch of other stuff as well. But the main idea here is that you've actually managed to put together your first research agent. And as you can see, we didn't even write a single line of code. We simply instructed the agent within the IDE on what tools it can use and how to use them.